Okay, so today I'm going to show you how I've been making Undergravel filters for my tanks. I've been making them that size out of a full size seedling tray. Today I'm going to make one out of this one, which I got for $3 something at Hammer Hardware, to go into my fry tanks. Sorry, I was woken up early this morning by neighbours being completely crazy. Sadly, quite common. Anyway, so we're going to cut this down to make it into a filter here, the Undergravel. My tank here is 60 by 25 by 25, made specifically for my tank racks to breed my guppies. These guys, she had a litter. She had a batch of fry yesterday, about 45 babies. So they've all been moved to the short-term tanks, while I save up for more, down here. So yeah, anyway, so that's what we're going to do today, is I'll show you step by step how I turn one of these trays into Undergravel filters. So this one here's got Undergravel, and then I put the chunky sand at the front. I'll show you how I did it step by step. Okay, so this size here has fit rather well in the 60 by 30 tanks and other sizes. So as long as you can, it fits inside the tank that way up, and we're going to cut this so it's only half the height. So as long as it fits in the tank, mine have a little bit on the side, and then across the front out here I have sand because I've got cories, so I figured I'll do all my tanks the same. And then I'll show you how I put in a little uplift, how we make that, and how I attached a piece of driftwood to make that definition between the pebbles and the Undergravel and the sand at the front. I mean, you don't have to do that. You could do your whole tank covered in these if they fit. I've chosen not to. But yeah, it's working well. They've all cycled well. It was all brand new pebbles that have gone in. Yeah, and in theory I shouldn't have to touch that Undergravel for, wow, 2 years-ish. You still gravel vac a little bit, but you don't gravel vac it much, because it pulling down all the food and the fish poo is what makes it run its cycle. So you basically leave it alone. So all I'll be doing is just gravel vacuuming the very top. You don't go down deep on these, and you just leave it alone, and you cap it, from all the stuff I've read up, about 4 to 5 centimeters is best. Some of mine are only about 2 or 3 centimeters because I was running low on gravel. I'll top them up later. So yeah, I'll show you how I do it, and yeah, I'll do my best to video it with one hand. Okay, first thing to do is cut off the corners like that. Just use your craft knife. There's usually soft enough plastic just to slice through that, cut the corners off, and I'll show you why in a second. Okay, so the reason for cutting the corners off is when we put the ruler in, because we're going to cut that much plastic off, it means it sits level, because if you leave the corners on, it ends up all sort of crooked. So then what we're going to do is use your craft knife to cut along that ruler as best as you can. Doesn't matter too much if it's a bit crooked, because it's going to be covered in pebbles anyway. So yep, I'll do that. I can't film it, sorry, I haven't got a tripod for my phone yet. Yeah, so we're going to cut those off, and then I'll show you the next step. And I'm going to do the same with that one as well for the fry tanks. This is one tip that I've got, is use the corner of your workbench. Don't you do it on the kitchen table, please. You'll make big marks in it. So you use that, and it's easier to get the pressure on to cut through that. It usually takes 2 goes over with your knife with a nice sharp blade, but be extremely careful. I have cut the corner of my thumb off when I was a teenager doing stuff like this. Okay, so this one I got from Hammer Hardware this morning for just $3. Seems to be a lot softer plastic, so it's really easy to cut. So I just thought I'd tell you that. So I'm going to cut this one down, and then I'm going to cut a couple of little plastic supports out of this one, because it's going to be a tight fit because my tanks aren't very wide. But this one's done. Okay, so basically that's what it's going to look like, and then we're going to cut a hole in there for the uplift pipe, which I'm going to show you how to make next. And then we'll work on installing one. Okay, so I've done this one. Now, because it's such a thin plastic, it has sagged. So I'm going to try and do this one-handed. So I used some of the pieces cut off it, and I just cut some nicks into it, like that, just so it all does slot together, like that, to be a support underneath. I will probably add a bit of silicone to it if it doesn't stay put. So now, ta-da, it stays up and the water will still be able to flow around it. So, next step is to make some lifting, the airlift pipes. So what I'm using is a piece of pipe that I've had lying around. And what I found is, this is a bit of Marley, I'm trying to see, 25mm, if it'll focus, 25mm conduit pipe. It's the electrical stuff, so it's a little bit cheaper than buying plumbing stuff. That's my number one tip, buy electrical, not plumbing, because it's way cheaper. It's not taking a pressure, so it doesn't need to be huge. Now, so just looking for the air stones. So I've been using these air stones, okay, inside the uplift pipe, so it does all the hard work. So just check that your air stone fits in. These ones are a bit bigger, they don't fit, so you could use a bigger pipe for your uplift, whichever one works. As long as the air stone fits in, you're all good. Right, so I'll go and measure how long it needs to be, and I'll show you how I do it. Okay, so that's the length I want for in the 25s, and roughly the same in the 30s. So you leave it so there's about 5 centimeters to the top of the water level to get enough lift. Anyway, so we'll cut those. You can use a jigsaw or even just a handsaw. I've even used the ever sharp, like the serrated knife. Actually works quite well. So we'll do that, and then I'll show you how it's finished and explain it. Alright, so we've cut it off. Now what I do is I just use the jigsaw to cut holes like that. So that's going to be under the gravel mat. Okay, so that's where all your water can go in and come out. Okay, so let's cut the holes so they can fit into the mat underneath. Okay, so what we're going to do, see this goes, what we're going to do is cut a hole so it snugly fits in there, and then if it's nice and snug, then that'll hold it in place. So it's going to end up like that inside there. And if you do cut it a little wide, don't stress, because when you put it in, just hold it up straight where you want it, and then pack all your pebbles around it, and that'll hold it in place. Just be a little careful. Okay. Okay, so that's those finished. So yeah, it's quite a snug little hole. Just using a craft knife to cut the hole. Just take off a little bit at a time till it's sitting really snug. Now I can lift it up and it's not going to move. like I said, if you cut a little big, don't stress. Just put pebbles all around it when you put it in, because when you're finished, you should have it about that high up, at least. So it does take a bit of gravel to do it. And that's about 2 centimetres. So on there, yeah, about 2 centimetres minimum. 3 is good, and if you can go deeper, that's apparently even better. But I go about 2 centimetres on average. Right, now I'll show you how I do the wood on the end, because I like mine divided and I like them all looking quite similar. I won't do it on that one because it's just going to be pure gravel, but I'll do it on that one and I'll show you. Okay, so I've cut that end, so we mark it there, and then what I do is I try and mark it where it's going to be across there, and then I'll dry fit it into the tank to make sure it's the right length. Okay, bearing in mind this is really hard to do one-handed. Okay, so what we've done is we've made it so it's going to reach across, and where it's touching I'm going to put some screws in from underneath so it holds it in place. So in the end it will hold your gravel up on there, so you can have sand on the underneath, or the lower end, like my other tanks. You can go without this step, it's entirely up to you. The other thing I found quite cool on one of the other, or 2 that I've done, is if you have a nice piece of driftwood, but for example like this one will float, it's dry as, so the rocks will hold it down, is you can also place them in like so, and so you can screw them in underneath. So it will look kind of cool. That way they can't float off, they're not going to bump and move or anything like that, and they're going to stay there for quite a while. So you can, I don't know, if you want to have a whole lot of branches or roots or something coming from the bottom or down or whatever, you just play around with it. So you pop a screw in from underneath and that'll hold it in place if you wanted it there. So we're going to put this one across here. I'll do that, and then okay, so there we have it. It's attached. It's not going to go anywhere. It's only got a couple of screws in it, and that's going to hold the gravel. So then it's quite easy to tweak it, make it sit right. Okay, so we're going to install that one today, because the tank I was given yesterday needs to clean before I can install this one. So we'll go ahead and install this one. Now, the crossover that I made before, I realised that the edges here were going to drop. So I took the offcuts from that one, seems to be a stronger, heavier plastic, to put in like so, and then it will hold it up a bit better. Alright, so we'll go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what it looks like in the tank. Okay, so this one's all in, ready to go. I've put a plant in, or a plastic one, and that just hides the riser that is back there. Just filling it up. So that's kind of how thick you need it minimum. More is better, but this will work. And tomorrow morning I'll be adding a trio into here. I will try and get some photos of them before I put them in. I have some nice looking male and a couple of really good females, so they're going to go in here. And yeah, so that's how you do it for $3 and a couple of bits of pipe sitting around. Well, a piece of pipe. So I hope that gives you an idea of how you can do. Obviously, that if you look right down there, it's kind of collapsed a little bit, but it'll be alright. It'll be fine. The rest of it seems to be holding up just great. So there you go. That's how to do an Undergravel filter, Kiwi styles, for about $4 max. So there you go. Hope you have some fun doing some DIY. Okay, so I hope you guys enjoyed that little bit of DIY. Sorry if it was a bit shaky. Yeah, I thought you guys might enjoy that. It's how I'm going to build them for all my tanks, and I'll be using sponge filters on top of that. Slowly getting into plumbing them all in. Yeah, it's a long process, but I'm enjoying it. So, leave me your feedback. If you've got any ideas, leave it in the comments below. if there's something you'd like to see me make or anything like that, just leave it in the comments. Like it if you like it, put thumbs down if you don't like it, and yeah, subscribe if you like this sort of content. Yeah. I'm gonna get some more jobs done. Okay, see you later guys.